In 1932, the Wall Street Journal ran a headline so grotesque it has never been forgotten. The radium water worked fine until his jaw came off. The man in the story was rich, he was famous, he was an American champion, and he died because he trusted a bottle that promised to make him immortal. This is the story of the company that sold radioactive poison as medicine and got away with it for years. Stay with me because the most disturbing part isn't what they sold, it's what they knew. To understand the crime, you have to understand the wonder. When Marie Curie isolated radium in 1898, the world didn't see danger, it saw magic. Radium glowed in the dark. It produced heat with no fuel. It seemed to defy every law of nature people thought they understood. So the public did what the public always does with something it doesn't understand. It decided that thing must be good for you. Radium toothpaste, radium face cream, radium chocolate. By the 1920s, you could buy radioactive everything, and corporations were getting rich selling it. But one product stood above the rest. It didn't just contain a trace of radium, it was radium, dissolved in water, bottled, and sold by the case to the wealthiest men in America. Its name was Radithor. The man behind Radithor was named William Bailey. Bailey called himself Doctor. He was not a doctor. He had no medical degree. He had, in fact, already been prosecuted once for selling a fake aphrodisiac. But Bailey understood something more valuable than medicine. He understood desire. He knew that rich men feared two things above all else: getting old and getting weak. So he sold them the cure for both. Each bottle cost $1, serious money at the time. Bailey guaranteed every bottle contained real radium. And here is the horror of it. He was telling the truth. That was the one promise he kept. Enter Eben Byers. Byers was American aristocracy, a steel heir, a socialite, a national amateur golf champion. The kind of man who had everything and assumed he always would. In 1927, Byers injured his arm. A doctor recommended Radithor. Byers tried it. He felt incredible, energized, invincible. So he did what wealthy men do with anything that makes them feel powerful. He took more, then more, then more. Over the next 2 years, Eben Byers drank an estimated 1,400 bottles of Radithor. He believed with total conviction that he had found the secret to a longer life. He was, in fact, drinking his own death, one bottle at a time. The radium did exactly what radium does. It went into his bones and it stayed there, burning him from the inside, atom by atom, for the rest of his life. By 1930, Byers was losing weight. He had headaches that never stopped. His teeth began to fall out, not decay, fall out, from a jaw that was quietly dissolving. Doctors removed his entire upper jaw, then most of his lower jaw. Holes opened in his skull. His bones became so brittle they fractured under their own weight. And still, here's the part that should chill you. The company faced no consequences. Because technically, Radithor had done nothing wrong. It contained exactly what it promised. The poison was the product, and selling poison in 1930 was not yet a crime. When the Federal Trade Commission finally came for Eben Byers' testimony, he was too sick to travel, so they sent an investigator to him. What that man witnessed, he never forgot. A skeletal millionaire who could barely speak, surrounded by the wealth that couldn't save him. Eben Byers died in 1932. His body was so radioactive it was buried in a lead-lined coffin. When researchers exhumed him decades later, his remains still set off their instruments, and then came the headline: "The radium water worked fine until his jaw came off." It was crude, it was cruel, and it did what years of warnings had failed to do. It made the public afraid. Not the only one. While he sipped his tonic in mansions and country clubs, the same element was being handled by people the company cared about far less. In factories across America, young women sat at long benches painting glow-in-the-dark numbers onto watch faces. To keep their brushes sharp, they were taught to point the bristles with their lips, lick, dip, paint, hundreds of times a day. They were swallowing radium with every stroke, and they were told it was harmless. The men who ran those factories knew otherwise. The chemists handled the same material behind lead shields with tongs, wearing protective aprons. The women were given nothing. When they began to fall ill, the companies denied everything, buried their own studies, and let the women carry the blame for their own deaths. Radithor vanished. The radium tonic industry collapsed, and the death of one rich, reckless man forced America to ask a simple question: should a company be allowed to sell something it knows can kill you? It seems obvious now. It was not obvious then. The outrage over Byers helped pave the way for the modern Food and Drug Administration, the agency that today stands between you and the next William Bailey. As for Bailey himself, he died years later of cancer. When his body was tested, it too was found to be riddled with radium. He had been drinking his own product all along. He believed his own lie. That may be the only justice in this entire story. Eben Byers thought he was buying more life. He was buying a slower death, sold to him by a man who smiled and called it medicine. But Radithor wasn't the only product its makers knew was lethal. In our next file, we open the story of a factory where the workers were told the paint was harmless, and where at night the women who painted it began to glow in the dark. Subscribe to Cold Ledger, because behind every fortune there's a ledger, and some of them are written in red.